Hello everybody, welcome to part 2 of the Logan Lathe project. I found the serial number on this old girl. She's down at the far right end of the bed on top. I made a clean spot there, 84424. My guess in the first video was 1959 as far as a year of manufacture, but I looked up that number and this is actually a 1967 Logan Lathe. You can see how dirty this lathe is, but it didn't take a whole lot of effort to make a clean spot down here. So I think she's really going to clean up nice. And I did confirm this is in fact a 3-phase motor. It's rated at 1/2 horsepower. So I've been doing some more research on this issue because I don't have 3-phase power in my shop. I think the cheapest and simplest thing to do is get a phase converter. They're cheaper than I thought they were, and the single phase 220 motors are more expensive than I thought they were. So I think the phase converter is going to be the way to go for that. The phase converter I'm looking at, for the moment at least, is a Phase-O-Matic. It seems to be a pretty well-known brand. The one I'm looking at goes for about $240, and this one is considered a static phase converter versus a rotary phase converter. The research I've done so far tells me that the static phase converters are more than adequate, especially for a hobbyist. I got myself a new camera for Christmas, so all my videos starting with this one and in the future will be shot and uploaded in 4K or better. This is a GoPro 10 Hero Black. All right, before I start disassembling this to clean it, let's do a complete walk around on it just to see how it looks before the cleaning process. All right, we're going to start with the tailstock first since that's the easiest. Next, we're going to remove the entire saddle and apron assembly. So first I'm going to loosen these 2 Allen bolts on top. I think that will loosen the apron. I think this might have to come off also. Yeah, that's a little foot that kind of clamps it to the bottom. Okay. I think these bolts right here in here need to either be loosened or removed all the way, because this is, again, on this side, it's sort of like a clamp. It prevents the whole saddle assembly from lifting up when the machine is in use. Yeah, she's just filthy everywhere in here. All right, let's go around the other side, take a look. All right, now I think what has to happen before we can lower and remove the apron here is this lead screw has to come loose from the bushing at the end. So I'm going to remove this piece. That should lower it down a little bit, and then we should be able to get the apron off. Let me get some support for the other end and we'll try to get this apron off. All right, I've just got this little makeshift stack here to support the lead screw so it doesn't, you know, drop too far this way and maybe damage something in there, like maybe a bushing. I'm not sure what's in there, but we're not going to take that chance. Obviously it's dirty, but there aren't a whole lot of chips in here, so that should clean up just fine. Here's the top. So I'm not going to remove the lead screw or the quick change gearbox assembly for this cleaning. So what I'm going to do is put this end bushing support back on while we're doing other things, and this will keep everything in place while we're doing our work. All right, so the top part of the saddle assembly here is still connected by some sort of a clamp on this side. Remember, we got it loose on the back side, but the front is still secure. And right there you can see there's a foot, there's a bar connected to it, and another foot at the end. And if we look up top, I think those screws probably hold those in place. So let's loosen that screw and see if that foot doesn't start to loosen up. Yes, it is. There's what that looks like. All right, this whole assembly should just lift right off now. Yep. All right. Yeah, she's filthy just like we expected. Yeah, this thing just needs a good cleaning. I think she'll be fine, hopefully, anyway. All right, before we move on, I just want to get everything off the top of the table and put it into the cabinet just to get everything sort of cleaned up before we start actually doing the cleaning. All right, so now I'm just going to remove the cover here. And rather than try to drive this pin out, I'm just going to take these two bolts off. I'm just spinning the chuck with my hand there. Just kind of getting a feel for how these gears are meshed as far as what kind of lash we have, if they're tight or loose, just so I can kind of get it back together in the same fashion. I will research to see what the lash is supposed to be on this, but this is probably one of those things you can just eyeball. So put that guy in neutral, and then I think to get these lower gears dropped down and out of mesh with this, we have to loosen that bolt. All right, so this support bracket right here is sort of keeping these gears kind of in place somewhat. So I think if I loosen this bolt, we can slide that support bracket down and let these gears fall all the way down. Yeah, let's take this all the way off. And yes, I did make a note of where it was when it started, so we can put it back together same way. And we're gonna put this back unless it gets in the way, and then we'll take it back off. But I'm not very familiar with these machines, so I do not want to have parts laying around and not know how they go back together, you know? All right, so that's good because I think we can get to those clamps in there now. All right, here we are on the front part of the assembly again. There's two 5/8 bolts that hold the clamp on in the front. What I'm gonna do first is just put some white paint right around both corners so I know exactly where everything was. All right, good enough. I guess we'll do this back clamp first and then we'll move around to the front. Here's a shot of the bolt with the clamp. You can see how the clamp clamps to the underside of the ridges of the bed. So we need to remove that bolt, and then we'll move up to the front and remove the two up there. Well, let's leave that sort of connected but loose for now, and I'll get these loose and see how it feels. Okay, I ran into my first problem of this disassembly process. I cannot figure out how to get these two belts off. They go down to the pulleys above the motor. You can see right up there they attach to that pulley on that spindle, and I do not see an easy way to get those belts off. So I mean, the whole reason I'm thinking about removing the drive assembly is just so I can get down in the bowels there and get everything completely cleaned out. Honestly, I'm starting to rethink my decision to remove the whole drive assembly at this point. So I'm wondering if I'm making more work for myself by trying to remove this whole assembly. Well, it would appear one of the only ways to get these belts off is to remove the spindle assembly, which seems crazy to me. Nothing really jumps out at me as far as an easy way to remove those belts. So I have decided not to remove those belts. I'm going to leave the entire drive gear assembly on the bed where it is. I'm just going to do my best to get everything cleaned out down there. I'm just not interested in making that much work for myself right now because the belts are actually in pretty good shape. So all I need to do, is clean underneath it and around it, button everything back up. So I'll probably make the next video a combination of the complete cleaning process as well as the reassembly, and eventually work towards getting this thing fired up. Thanks everybody for watching. We'll see you next time. Take care. Thing I want to do today is just put a couple of these parts in evaporust overnight, just to see what happens. Oh, here comes a flock of geese. Wow, nice formation, huh? All right, we're going to put a couple of these pieces in the evaporust and just to see what happens with them. What else can we put in there? Let's just put this old dead center in and see how she turns out. So next. All right, it's been about a day and a half, I guess. Let's see how these parts turned out. That evaporous is good stuff, isn't it? It's just like night and day. It removes the rust, and it also leaves like almost a gunmetal finish to the steel. This is a Jacobs chuck, made in USA. Boy, I wish we saw more of that these days. Look at that. So just from sitting for a day and a half, we've got 3 parts back in excellent condition, ready to be reused.